Right now, more of us than ever are having to sift through email like we've never had to sift through it before. We are inundated with emails. With more people working from home, there's more need for communication because those hallway conversations, hey, how you doing? What's going on with this project? Any updates on this supply chain? Guess what? Now those aren't happening, which means we are having to respond writing in email, but also on Zoom calls like this, on other video teleconferencing with more text. And our workdays have gotten longer, not shorter. And you would think that if with more of us working from home or working from a home office or at the kitchen table, our lives would be easier because we're not commuting. We're able to do it in jeans maybe, or whatever you're wearing. I don't want to know. I really don't want to know. But the idea is we would have more time, except that we don't. So this is how to manage email with military precision and what this looks like. So a couple things. First, there's 3 different stages to this. And I want to share with you what works for me, what the military does, and the system that I came up with to help my team manage email. So you have to remember, in the military, if you can't understand what your boss is telling you or the fact that you have to take action on something really quickly, it might be the difference between mission accomplishment or mission failure. And of course, none of us want mission failure. A poorly formatted email can get lost. And I don't know about you, but I live in terror that I will miss an important email that's coming from a client or a potential client or somebody who says, hey, I kind of got lost on that one webinar. Can you please send me something that will help clarify that? Or let's say one of you want to contact me and you say, you know what, gosh, Mary, I'd really like to talk to you more about this, or my organization wants you, or please help me out. If I can't find that email, all of a sudden somebody feels neglected. So I thought it was very interesting. I learned this from another communications expert. And what she said was, sometimes people just need the response and they need the communication. But right now, lots of us are getting way too much of it. So what do we do? Well, before this whole pandemic started, email was taking up a lot of our time. It was taking up about 13 hours per week of the average worker. And about 28% of their time was just sifting through email and literally sifting it, trying to figure out what they need to do in order to make things happen, trying to figure out what was important, what they had to tackle, what was just, oh, the boss sent this out to everybody. Because for most of us, I don't know about you, but when I see an email and it's coming from, say, the CEO or the CFO, or when I was a professor, my dean, I would open that first, and then I'd find out, oh, it was just, health records need to be updated through HR. Okay, so that, went into a different box. But it was hard to sift through emails. And a lot of it is just what most people consider junk. So real quickly, right now, especially during times of uncertainty, people can be more unproductive if we don't take steps now to make them more productive and to help them be more productive. And what that means is making sure, number one, they get the great information from you. You do not want people hearing that your state has reopened or your business has reopened by watching the news. They want to hear it from you. Number 2, you have to make sure that when you're communicating, you're doing it in a way that is helpful for them. So if your email gets lost and they see it 3 days later among the other 400 emails you've sent in the past 24 hours, that is not being helpful. Number 3, make sure the emails are saying what you need to say in a way that you intend to say it. Again, many of us are operating a little bit shorter on time, a little bit shorter on resources, and maybe at a higher stress level. So we have to make it easier for other people to receive our message. So what does that look like? Well, for many of us, we feel as though our email is just out of control. So real quickly, I wanted to ask you what you feel about your email. So go ahead and answer the poll. Let me know what you think. What's making you crazy regarding your email? Is it people who hit reply for all the stupid stuff? Is it more ads that are disguised as emails? Is it just trying to figure out what we need to pay attention to? Or is it just too many emails? Just click on one of those answers. Let's just see what everybody's feeling today. I think these polls, if you've never done a poll in a webinar, I think they're fun to do. They only take about 30, 60 seconds. And I think they're just fun to do. And sometimes it takes us a minute to think, what is taking us more time and making us crazy about our emails? All right, so it looks like most people have voted. And it's kind of balanced. People who hit reply all for stupid stuff, yeah, please do not hit reply all and say thanks or got it. It is assumed you have it. You don't need to tell all of us. I see some ads disguised as emails. Those make me crazy. I don't know how to block those. Trying to figure out what I need to pay attention to. We're going to address that in about 4 minutes. And then way too many emails, how to do that. So thank you so much for participating in that. And that is what the results looked like. Trying to figure out what we need to pay attention to was the winner, but not by much. 34% over 32%. Very nicely done. So let's do that. And we will move on. All right, let's close that out. So most of us do spend hours a day wading through emails, trying to figure out what we have to respond to and what's important. And we do worry that we might be missing something important. And most of your people right now, especially right now, are feeling short on time and frustrated with everything they've got to do. If you are working from home right now, and maybe you have children who are also at home because they can't go to school, and now everybody is competing for computer time, competing for phone time, maybe competing for bandwidth with the iPad, with your Wi-Fi, and maybe you've got a partner or a spouse at home trying to work from home too. All of a sudden, it starts to get a little bit overwhelming. So our email should help us instead of hurting us. Now, many of us are getting just a lot more emails. So one thing you can get, if you can get your people to understand this, it's helpful. Every time you send someone an email, you're basically giving them a task. So every time you send an email, you have to make sure that it is a task that you want them to be thinking about doing and spending their time on. And if it's not, then maybe there's another way. So here's some techniques I use to manage emails. First, most people see the subject line as the first thing they see. So use the subject line. Don't just say, hey, it's Mary checking in. No, it is Mary reminding you that you have a webinar at 1 o'clock Eastern Standard Time today, Tuesday. That should be the subject line. That's what they see. And remember, over 45% of us are seeing most of our emails on our phone. So if you're not getting their attention in the very first part of it, which is the subject line, you might be losing them. So feel free and encourage your people to use the subject line with exactly what you need. And we use not, hi, how are you, but exactly what we want to have happen. We use the subject line. And we do that by using the DICE method. So this is where it gets good. This is DICE. Now, the military has a slightly different system. I use DICE because it's easy to remember. It is decide, information, coordination or coordinate, execute or act. So all of those can be action verbs or descriptions. Decide, inform, coordinate, execute, or act. Now, the very first, in the subject line, the very first word that appears when working with my team is one of those words. So if they need me to make a decision, the first word is decide in capital letters, dash, paper napkins by Friday with the due date. So right away in the subject line, I know I have to make a decision, I know what the topic is, and I know that there's a deadline. Those three components make for a great subject line. Now, let's say one of my team just says, hey, we got this back from a client and you don't have to do anything. I already inputted it into your calendar. That's just an FYI. That's information. So that's inform. And so my team also will use FYI, for your information. I think lots of you probably use that. That means I don't have to take any specific action right now, read it later, keep it, file it, but we've got it handled. Oh, good. Coordinate, we shorten it to COORD, C-O-O-R-D. It tells you that other people are involved, which means you're going to have to pay a little bit more attention to this one. What we mean by that is you're going to probably hit reply all with your piece of the puzzle and put something together. Coordination means there are other people involved, you're part of it, you've got to take some kind of action and other people need to be part of that. Execute or act, like act sounds better than execute. Execute sounds a little bit mean, but then I had DECAW as the acronym, and y'all know I love acronyms and I love good acronyms, so a good acronym is worth a weird word. So the idea there is DICE, execute or act. Action, and that's what we use, is action in the subject keyword. If I've got to take action on something like get back to this client right away or The client asked if you have any kind of 5-minute plan on this particular issue, or can you do this webinar on this date? So if I can do something that, sometimes it's different between decide and act. If I have to take action, create a new 5-minute plan or create a new program for a client. That's different from deciding, can you do this webinar on the 15th of May? Yes, that's a decision. Develop this webinar by the 15th of May for this client. That's an actionable or execute item. So again, when doing a subject keyword, we use decide, info, cord, execute, or act as the very first word, and then what the topic is, and then the deadline. Remember, folks, people work to deadlines, and it makes it so much easier when you know what those deadlines are. By Friday, 10 a.m., coordinate with operations on product delivery for Robert Mondavi. That was a good day, by the way. So that's what that looks like. And then the second thing we do is we use Bluff. Bottom line up front. So many of us, and especially ladies, we are particularly guilty of this. You men, you're a little bit better about this. We tend to not get to the point. We tend to think subtlety and hinting around something, people will get things done. No. Ladies, we tend to try to encourage people to do something instead of directing them to do them. Right now, folks, especially during times of crisis, when people are feeling scarce and stressed, is not the time to be subtle. Be more direct. So Bluff does that. Bluff puts your most important idea first. So I might write a note to Penny, and Penny is amazing and she's very detail oriented, and I love that about her. So I might want to say, hey Penny, it was so great to see you at Modex. We had just such a great time. You did such a great job taking care of all the details. I hope everybody liked the little books. That was really, really fun. It was a fun project for me. Hey, by the way, we've got this thing going on. We've got just a reminder about the webinar. Well, all of a sudden, maybe she's getting this on her phone, and by the time she gets down to what I need her to think about or do, now she's kind of scrolled right past that. So I need to let her know right away. Penny, just a reminder about the webinar for your people. The information is attached. And then I put all the niceties after that. By the way, I just want to tell you how great it was to see you at Modex. You did such a great job with all the details. I loved working with you and your team. These are just a terrific bunch of people. Thanks so much. All the nice stuff can come later. We ladies, we sometimes put that first because it's an easier way to ease into things. If you can get your team to realize that if they do the Bluff method, they put their most important ideas first, that this becomes a more effective way to triage your email. It works great. So let me show you what that might look like. Because again, in the military, it's a short staccato statement, and it declares the purpose of the email and the action required. And it shows you how that email affects them, and it quickly answers the who, what, when, where, why, what this looks like. So here's a good example for that. So for example, effective the 31st of January, 2020, we will make our emails more efficient. That's a good idea. Here's the Bluff. So that's the subject header. So email management costs us millions of dollars a year in labor. So we're going to implement Mary's DICE Bluff system to save time, labor, and frustration. So here's how this looks. So the Air Force uses the term Bluff all the time. They're probably the best at using this. And the idea is we're going to make things easier and quicker for people to see quickly what's important. So this is a very real meeting. So the subject was info. Meeting changed to Thursday at 2 p.m. Shannon, here's the bottom line, because not everybody was comfortable using Bluff yet. We scheduled the weekly update meeting for Thursday at 2 o'clock Central Standard Time to accommodate the CFO's schedule. And then we put the background after that. And again, we use bullets whenever possible. That's another trick. Our brain processes bulletized information faster. Background. We looked for other available times. It's the only time that works. And it's important that you're on that call so you can address your profits and losses. The CFO is going to be in Boston on Thursday at an offsite with the management committee. He wants to review the financial report that can be found here. Insert the link before the call. Boom. So now you know what you've got to do to be prepared for the meeting. And then you can put all the niceties afterwards, and you can add more background. So again, there's the subject line that includes one of those DICE words with exactly the topic, not, hey, just an update. That could be on anything. With a specific time, a date is better. And again, what the bottom line is, what the background is, the who, what, when, where, why, and that explains that. Now, This is Kiwi Live. You know, I love Kiwi Live for absolutely everything. And this is where you're going to find more information. But I also wanted to do another quick poll. And the other quick poll looks like, there we go. Oops. No, that's not working at all. Okay. So never mind, that didn't work well at all. All right. Okay, I just had a little technical glitch there. Okay, so I want to share with you the other thing I do, and it's called SaneBox. So SaneBox is a tech tool that I use that allows me to sort emails. Like most of you, I don't have time to sift through everything. And SaneBox, I think it cost me $5 a month. I'm not an affiliate, it's just something I use. Trains your email. So everything that's coming into your email, it sorts it for you. I have a priority box, and my priority box, let me go back to this. So I have a priority inbox, and my priority inbox is anything from any of you is going to go to that priority inbox. Anything from my close friends, my family, it goes to that priority inbox. Now, there's a lot of people's newsletters that I learn from, so I want to keep getting those newsletters. So that goes into my Sane newsletters box. So it's nice for me to be able to review that. I don't necessarily need my whole brain to do that. So it's a nice newsletter. Some of them are financial, some of them are economic. You got to remember, I still get up every morning and look at economic data because I'm a nerd. And the idea behind that is when I feel like looking at financial data, which tends to be first thing in the morning or last thing at night, I look at the newsletters. Also, many of us get newsletters from our favorite stores, order deliveries. Right now, I don't know about you, but I am using more grocery delivery services for my parents. I'm using Grubhub for my parents. So that goes again into Sane newsletters. And then there's another category called Sane Later. Now you get to identify whatever the categories you want. You can have it just friends and family. You can have it just for business. You can have it called Sane whatever. You get to customize that. But I have another one called Sane Later. And Sane Later are things that I need to pay attention to. I need to do something with it, but I don't have to do it today. So those get sorted into Sane Later. And that might be renewing your domain names or medical appointments or from the dog washer, things like that. So I use, again, Sane to sort my email because I don't know, and I would love for you, if you want to, in the chat box, go ahead and put in about how many, just the number of about how many emails you think you're getting per day. Just throw in a number, 10, 30, 130, 9,000, whatever that number is, 75. Oh, good for you. Okay, great. 200. Liz, oh, I hear you, my friend. Rebecca, yeah, most of us are getting more. And most of them are not things we can just dismiss. 115 from Brianna, nice. Cindy, 125, 65 from Mitch. Oh yeah, Cynthia, 200 work emails, and we're not even talking about the personal emails. Totally understand. And we've got to find a way, again, to sort them. So I use Sane. Sane, 100 to 150, that's pretty good. Sane sorts them so that when I wake up in the morning, I don't see 200 brand new emails. I see 10. 10, and that's clients, customers, people I have personal relationships with, family. Right away, I know exactly what to address. And then, so I address those first, and then I'm calm, and then I go into my Sane Laters and I scroll through those. I grab the important ones. Again, anything that has the word decide, info, coordinate, execute, or act. I know that's coming from somebody who knows me well, and that gets my attention right away. So if you ever want to get my attention in an email, use one of those words and it will pop to the top for me. And if you can get your team to do that, this is brilliant. So again, in the chat box, do you think you could use the DICE system, just yes or no, to get your team to help you triage your time? If you could just write that in the chat box, that would be great. And then if you did this for your team, can you see how that would help your team get their life back and triage their time? Yes and yes. Oh, I appreciate that so much. I think it works great. And then if you use the Bluff system, so that again, anytime people are looking at their emails on their phone, you all of a sudden are able to communicate exactly what you want clearly and concisely. Can you see how that would work too? And then finally, using a system, I just happened to pick Sane. One of my friend's cousins who lives in Hollywood turned me on to it. And I was like, you don't understand. My life is really busy. I can't miss an email. She's a movie director. And she said, really, you think I can afford to miss an email? I was like, oh, yeah, good point. So those are the three magic things that I do: Dice, Bluff, and Sane. And I kind of love the fact that they're all 4-letter words.